Tsarist and Communist Russia, 1855 to 1917. The political, social and economic condition and the Crimean War. Russia ran on a system of government by one person with absolute power. This is known as autocracy. The rulers of the Russian Empire were called Tsars, and during this time they were ruled by the Romanov family. There were no parliament and no elections, but the Tsar had a number of advisors who were nobles chosen by him. There were many pillars of autocracy, including the Orthodox Church, where the Tsar was the head and very influential among the peasants. He was said to be appointed by God and was called the Little Father by the Russians. If you disrespected the Tsar, you disrespected God. The civil service. Administrators and officials carried out instructions of the Tsar, and they were appointed and paid by the Tsarist state. The police kept watch for enemies of the Tsar and arrested them. The secret police were known as the Okhrana, who worked for undercover, infiltrating organizations who endangered the Tsar. Censorship. Book and newspapers were censored, so that people could not be influenced by liberal and socialist ideas. Dangerous material were banned. The law. The legal system supported autocracy, and opponents exiled to labor camps in Siberia. The army. Russia had a huge army which was used to control the peasants. The Cossacks, who were military units, calmed down things such as civil unrest. The size of Russian Empire. Bulk of the population were peasants, farmers, known as serfs, who were illiterate, which made it difficult for liberal ideas to be spread through books and pamphlets. They lived in remote, widely dispersed villages, which made it difficult for them to unite and challenge the Tsar. There were also poor roads and railways, which made it difficult for ideas to spread. The nobles' incomes were falling as they were dependent on their serfs but lacked the incentive to work. There was little doubt that Alexander II was influenced by political considerations. There had been 300 peasant uprisings, including murders of their landowners and bailiffs, which threatened social stability. Economic condition. Russia was still a rural industry, as much of the land was barren and inhospitable. In the mid-19th century, the country was Europe's main exporter of agricultural produce. Communication with the rest of the empire was poor, as it's such a vast empire. The serfs were very poor and often suffered starvation in the winter and during bad harvests. They lived in communes called mirs, which were supervised by Volofs. Social conditions. The society was divided between the landowning elite and serfs. The landowning elite included the clergy, nobility, civil and military officials, army and naval officers, and the royals. There was no middle class, which had started to become dominant everywhere else in Europe. There was a small number of professionals called the intelligentsia, who were the son of nobles. There was no social mobility within Russian society. However, it was largely diverse with many languages, but that made it difficult for ideas to spread. The Crimean War. Ottoman Turks tried to move into the Balkans via the Black Sea, so in 1853 Nicholas I sent Russian army to modern-day Moldova, and the Turks declared war. The Russian army started off strong and sunk the Turkish fleet, but the British and French were anxious to protect their trading areas, so they came into the war defending Turkey. Russia started to suffer as they had outdated technology and poor transportation. They were eventually defeated at Balaclava in October 1854 and Inkerman in November 1854. March 1855, Nicholas I dies and his son Alexander takes over. The war disrupted trade in Russia and started peasant uprisings. The intelligentsia wanted something to be done to close the gap between Russia and the West. The Treaty of Paris in 1856 prevented Russian warships from using the Black Sea. This was the end of the Crimean War.